You are listening to the Manument Podcast. My name is Casey, and I'm here with my buddy Glenn Johnson, investment advisor and founder of Jabez Financial right here in the Uncasville area. Now, Glenn, let's jump right in. I want to talk about one of the biggest financial stories unfolding right now, and it is not happening on Wall Street. It's happening around family kitchen tables, or maybe it's not happening around the family kitchen table. But over the next few decades, it's estimated that tens of trillions of dollars will be passed on from baby boomers to younger generations. It's being called the Great Wealth Transfer, but researcher Ed Yardeni tells CNBC that a lot of the money is heading to them now. Take a listen.
Look, the kids, we didn't really like their friends. They didn't listen to us. They didn't clean up their rooms. Why leave them anything? $80 trillion, it's going to be hard to spend all of that. And I know from personal experience that a lot of us are helping our kids. It's not cheap out there. Rent is high. Auto insurance is crazy. And so I think a lot of the baby boomers are already transferring some of their wealth to the youngins. And I think that's another reason that the economy is remaining resilient.
So, Glenn, I'm curious, when you work with families specifically, how do you prepare that next generation to handle an inheritance wisely? Whether that inheritance happens today, whether it happens 20 years from now, talk us through your approach when it comes to this.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I can't tell you how often these days I'm having conversations with clients about how they're going to prepare their kids to receive an inheritance. And, you know, there's a huge difference between their financial well-being and that of their kids. See, sometimes the parents have had a great work ethic. They didn't allow their hard feelings to stop them from taking care of their responsibilities, and they kept going to work no matter how much they didn't feel like it. You know, and many of my clients they put in the work. They didn't accept excuses from themselves, and they did what they needed to do when they needed to do it, and their efforts paid off. And today they continue to make smart decisions. But the concern then really goes to the next generation.
Well, and I think a lot of parents listening can relate to that. They worked hard, they made sacrifices, and now they're wondering if their kids will have that same mindset that helped them build that wealth in the first place.
Right. You know, they set a great example. You know, like my dad he taught me how to clean my room by going out and straightening out the garage. Mm-hmm. He set the example, you know, and so although this generation, they've set a great example, and it's true that the principles of hard work and diligence and delayed gratifications, they're as applicable now as ever. But that said, the economic environment is entirely different. You know, so the rules have changed for the next generation, and most importantly, parents can pass on values and principles that help them create significant wealth, but the techniques they used to create it may not be as effective for the next generation. You know, it's kind of like a skill set in business. When you're growing a business from one stage to the next, the principles don't change, but the action steps are different.
Well, and I think that's an important distinction. The values may stay the same, but the way the next generation applies those values can look completely different than it did 30, 40 years ago.
It does. And now that they've accumulated significant wealth, with it, well, like I say, with every blessing comes a burden. And if you've been blessed with a sizable estate to leave to your kids or your heirs, you know, now you're kind of burdened with the responsibility of preparing them to receive it. Mm-hmm. Because if they're not prepared properly, it could ultimately cause them harm. So now the beneficiaries need a financial education that will prepare them to handle the responsibilities that come with inheriting a sizable estate.
Well, and that's where this becomes a lot more than just passing down money. It's really about preparing someone to handle the responsibility that comes with it. It's kind of reminding me, Glenn, of like the lottery curse that you hear about, where most winners go broke within just a few years, or professional athletes that you hear about going broke within just a few years of retiring after making millions of dollars so quickly.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And, you know, and this is where I can help. Getting that kind of financial education, it just simply wasn't available in school. And this is why it's so important to me that I fully understand how my clients want to help and support their kids, both now and when they're no longer here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's why I'll hold, I'll work with people one-on-one through different financial counseling sessions and meetings. I'll hold events like I've got coming in October with Decision Weekend that helps people become more well-rounded and grow in all areas. But I can help their kids have the financial knowledge they need, the kind of knowledge that's going to work best for them in their generation in these economic times.
I want to talk more specifically, Glenn, about what can go wrong if heirs are not prepared or financially educated on what could happen when they're receiving an inheritance. What mistakes do you see families make when they focus more on just transferring the assets, moving the money, but not the financial education or transferring that financial knowledge on?
Well, keep in mind, like money, it's never corrupted anybody. It's revealed them. Like a good person can do more good with more money. A bad person can cause more harm with more money. And for the same reason, you don't hand a power tool to a 3-year-old or a driver's license to a 10-year-old. Or shoot, it's a good thing I didn't have my Acura NSX when I was 16. That would have been disastrous. When somebody receives an abundance of money, if they don't have the knowledge on how to handle it, it could not only harm them, it could harm those around them. And so I look at it this way. If I look at my heavenly Father, the King of Kings, unlimited wealth, and he loves us and wants to bless us and wants us to have good things. So what's stopping us from receiving more? Because we need to be able to be prepared to be able to receive it. The same reason you don't give your kids things they shouldn't have too young, because they're just not there yet. So as the baby boomers now that have accumulated significant wealth, they've got more money than they're going to spend, many of them. And now it's going to go somewhere because I say with every dollar you have will get spent by somebody. Either you'll spend it, your kids will spend it, or the state will take it or something. Wherever it goes, we want to make sure that the land is fertilized and ready to receive it.
I feel like a lot of times families avoid this conversation because for so many years it's been taught to us that money is a taboo topic. You don't talk about money, so you don't talk to your kids about how much money you have. But I'm wondering, with all the families that you've worked with over the years, Glenn, have you seen families actually strengthen their relationship by having these conversations, by planning for the wealth transfer together?
100%. Absolutely. And you know what? There's a great movie that illustrates that specifically. It's called The Ultimate Gift.
Okay.
And it's worth pulling up. It's either on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something, but The Ultimate Gift. And I know one of the actors, of the people that produced it, talks about how a billionaire is leaving a massive estate to his nephew. Mm-hmm. But in order for him to receive it, he has to go through all these different life lessons to prepare himself to be able to receive it. Mm-hmm. Like the lessons of hard work and kindness and generosity and these sort of things. It's about preparing the individual to receive it.
Okay.
And because I'm familiar with this and I've walked hundreds of people through this process, depending upon the condition and state and the tools available to the child that's potentially receiving it, this is where I can really help prepare them so that they know that when their wealth gets transferred, whether they're doing some of it now or some of it later, it gets used properly and most effectively for the greatest good.
Mm-hmm. So if we've got somebody listening today, they're expecting to leave a legacy to their family someday, but they've never approached this conversation. They've never had this conversation with their kids. What's the first step that they should take? What would you tell those people?
Well, obviously, the first thing would be to give us a call and come in for a conversation. We've got to find out not just what you're working with to make sure all of your needs are met, but then what's left over, who is it going to? And, obviously, we're going to look at what are the taxes involved. We want to obviously maximize the amount of resources that get transferred to the next generation. But I also want to have a conversation about the individual or individuals that are receiving it. And how do they need to grow? What is it that they need to learn? And what financial education do they need to be able to be properly prepared to receive it? We really got to have a conversation about it so that it's done correctly with wisdom and not just, here's a bag of money. So I would invite you to give us a call at 860-288-9977. And what you can expect is when you give the office a call, you can expect a friendly greeting, and we'll pick a time to have a conversation. Leave your financial documents at home. Just come in for a conversation and see if we can establish some ground and learn how I may be able to help, and we'll go from there.
And that's going to do it for us today here on the Manument Show. But Glenn and I will be back next week with more retirement insight for you. But until then, Glenn, handing it back over to you. Any final thoughts today?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the future is really something to look forward to when it's planned out correctly in advance. We don't want to have those unexpected disasters coming when they can be avoided in the first place. So I invite you to come in for a conversation, and we'll make that financial future of yours far better than it ever could have been.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.